Alright guys, how's it going? This is the Fine Fellow. I wanted to talk a bit about flying. Um, Mostly because there was just a huge complaint fest on the official forums and on all the WoW community websites about whether or not flying would be added. It was just a huge, long, pointless discussion that just went on and on and on about how bad people feel about not being able to fly and how it was ruining the game for them. I couldn't really understand the argument about how important flying was because right now flying it doesn't really contain any gameplay at all. Actually, there's no. It's not like you can do a dogfight with between different griffins or whatever. All you can do is travel, and even then the planes don't have physics. You can just hover there in midair and you just press space to go up and C to go down or whatever it is. Um, I don't see why anyone gives much of a shit about it. It doesn't do anything, and there's no gameplay associated with it, so who gives a fuck? I think it's just a typical example of bike shedding in the game in the tech communities. As a programmer, we have like major problems with that. Bike shedding, if you've never heard of it, is essentially just where people that I can't remember the exact description of it, but basically people spend most of their time talking about stuff that doesn't matter and then more or less ignore stuff that does matter because they can't really contribute any meaningful discussion on on more complex, more difficult tasks. If you want to read a bit more about it, you can Google for either bike shedding or Parkinson's law of triviality. There's a Wikipedia page you can read about it. Kind of an interesting phenomenon, but I think that's what's going on in the WoW community at the moment. People are so incessantly focused about stuff that does matter that the main things that do matter, which are like the shape of the game, you know, are really being ignored. And I think with flying is a huge example of that because what people were incessantly focused on is whether or not they could move in 3D or not, right? But that is such a minor part of it. The reason why flying was removed from the game is essentially because Blizzard wanted there to be a game outside of a raid, and there kind of isn't if you can just fly over the game. You know, it's so incessantly convenient that it turns the game into not a game anymore. It's just a sort of 3D environment that you can look at, and that's a problem for the game going forward. But I really felt like they were going to take this opportunity to just rejig WoW a little bit and just try and shake it out of its the rut that it's got itself into. It's in a sort of creative game design rut at the moment where they just do the same fucking thing over and over again every expansion. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean. So yeah, what really is going on with WoW at the moment? Like where is it going to go in the future? That's what I'm kind of concerned about. Well, not concerned. It's more like I'm more. It's more like I'm looking into the future and I'm not really seeing much hope for the game improving at all from what it is now. In fact, I don't think it will change substantially from the sort of pattern that it's got into in the last few expansions. So I don't know what the next expansion is going to be, but whatever it is, let's say it's the Dark Below and it's under the sea or whatever. You know and I know what the expansion is going to be like, right? We're going to go in there and there's going to be the same linear questing zones that there always were. And then during the questing zones, we're going to be able to queue up for the same short, very small number of dungeons that we always get every expansion. And then at the end, we're going to be grinding LFR for some garbage that we don't really want. Like shitty gear and some sort of, coins or whatever that we have to get for some quest. Just exactly the same as this expansion. Except, who really gives a fuck what environment is going to be painted on top of the next LFR, right? I don't care. It's the same thing, just some trivially easy piece of content that I have to go through. But that is the way that the game has become, and the community has kind of formed around this shape of WoW. And if they try to change it, I think they're too afraid to kind of change it now just for financial reasons. Yeah, the game has really been suffering creatively and from a game design perspective, and I think it won't get any better. And yeah, I guess the recent flying announcement just made me kind of realized, actually, they aren't going to be able to innovate the game anymore. In fact, I don't think anything will be done unless another MMO comes along that's better than WoW. So, and I'm looking on the horizon, and I'm not seeing anything that could potentially compete with WoW at all. So I think that the game is just going to settle into a rut, kind of, and it's just going to limp along for the next 5 years or so. Yeah, I don't want to. I guess I don't want to just sit here and play the game for nostalgia's sake and just remembering back in the day how exciting WoW was, and how much fun it was to go to various places and areas and discover new things. That is the past of WoW, and the future is just LFR and other such things that we have to do. Maybe it is. I don't know. That's what I'm seeing, but it's entirely possible that they could do something else, but it won't be much fun. Kind of like garrisons. There might be a new garrison addition in the new expansion, but if it's as boring and pathetic as garrisons, then what's the point? Who really cares? Yep. So there it is. I don't know where WoW is going and what the game designers' plans are for WoW in the future. And I don't think they know. I think that they're just kind of plodding along, fairly content to do the same old thing over and over again. Yeah, it's just sad to see the game go out this way. I hoped it would have gone out with a bang rather than a whimper, but there it is. This is the Fine Fellow. Cheers for listening. Peace.